Life is not a straight road. It is a journey full of ups and downs, challenges and victories. Many people dream of success, but only a few have the courage to fight for it. Imagine standing at the edge of failure, with no hope, no support, and no clear path ahead. What would you do? Would you give up, or would you rise, defying all odds? The truth is, every great success story begins with struggle, pain, and moments of self-doubt. But those who refuse to surrender, those who keep pushing forward despite every hardship, become legends. Today, we will dive into the stories of 5 extraordinary individuals who faced unimaginable challenges, but never stopped believing in themselves. Their journey was not easy, but their destination was worth it. Are you ready to be inspired? Let's begin. Success is never served on a silver platter. It demands sweat, perseverance, and an unbreakable spirit. Every successful person we admire today has once walked a difficult path, faced rejection, endured criticism, and struggled with self-doubt. But what sets them apart is their resilience, their ability to rise after every fall, to push forward when the whole world seemed against them. Think about some of the greatest minds in history. Thomas Edison, who failed 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. J.K. Rowling, who was rejected by multiple publishers before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. Or Colonel Sanders, who started KFC in his 60s after facing countless failures. These stories remind us that no matter how tough the journey is, if we stay committed, success is inevitable. Every struggle comes with a lesson. Sometimes, the hardest days are the ones that shape us the most. When life knocks us down, we have 2 choices: stay down and accept defeat, or get back up and fight harder. Those who choose the second option rewrite their destiny. This video is not just about motivation. It is about real-life stories of people who refuse to give up. We will explore 5 incredible journeys, stories of individuals who started with nothing, faced rejection, failure, and heartbreak, yet emerged victorious. These stories will not only inspire you, but also give you valuable lessons on how to deal with adversity. No matter where you are in life, no matter how many times you have failed, always remember, the journey may be difficult, but the destination will be worth it. Stay with me till the end, because each story has a powerful lesson that can change your life. In a small town of Adnagar, Gujarat, a young boy helped his father sell tea at a railway station. Life was not easy for him. While other children played, he worked tirelessly to support his family. He had big dreams, but no resources. The world told him he was just a tea seller, destined for an ordinary life. But deep inside, he knew he was meant for something greater. Despite the struggles, he never lost hope. He was fascinated by books, speeches, and leaders who had changed the world. He wanted to serve people, to do something meaningful. But how could a simple boy from a poor family make a difference? Society doubted him, laughed at him, and told him to settle for a small job. But he refused to accept an ordinary life. Instead of giving in to his circumstances, he chose to work harder. He joined a political movement, dedicating himself to the service of his people. He traveled across the country, understanding the struggles of common people. He worked day and night, taking small but consistent steps toward his vision. But success didn't come easy. He faced humiliation, criticism, and opposition at every step. People called him inexperienced, incapable, and unworthy of leadership. Yet, he kept moving forward. His hard work, determination, and relentless spirit started getting noticed. Slowly, he climbed the ladder of success, proving his worth at every level. And then, one day, the boy who once sold tea at a railway station became the Prime Minister of the world's largest democracy. And no matter where you come from, no matter how difficult your circumstances are, success is always possible if you have vision, hard work, and determination. People may doubt you, but their doubts don't define you, your actions do. If a tea seller can lead a nation, imagine what you can achieve with the right mindset. It was the late 19th century, and the world was still covered in darkness after sunset. People relied on candles and oil lamps, but one man had a vision: to create an electric light bulb that could illuminate the world. His name was Thomas Edison. Edison was not born a genius. In fact, his teachers called him slow and mentally weak. He was removed from school because his teachers believed he could never learn anything. But his mother believed in him. She started teaching him at home, and that belief changed everything. As he grew older, Edison became obsessed with inventing. He failed again and again, but he never stopped trying. His most famous invention, the electric bulb, was not an instant success. In fact, he failed 10,000 times while trying to create a working light bulb. People mocked him, newspapers ridiculed him, and even scientists told him to give up. But Edison had a different mindset. When someone asked him how he felt about failing 10,000 times, he smiled and said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This mindset made him unstoppable. Finally, after years of effort, he succeeded. He lit up the world with his invention, changing human history forever. Today, every time we switch on a light, we are witnessing the result of his relentless determination. Failure is not the end. It is a step towards success. If Edison had given up after his first failure, the world would still be in darkness. No matter how many times you fail, keep going, keep learning, and keep improving, because every failure brings you one step closer to success. In the small town of Rameswaram, Tamil Nadu, a young boy helped his family by selling newspapers. He belonged to a poor family, but he had big dreams. His name was Abul Pakir Jainuddin Abdul Kalam, later known as Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the missile man of India. Kalam's family didn't have enough money to support his education, but he was determined to study. He woke up at 4 a.m. every day, studied under a streetlight, and worked hard to secure a scholarship. He got admission to an engineering college, but his journey was not easy. He faced financial struggles, and even slept on railway platforms when he didn't have a place to stay. Despite the hardships, Kalam never gave up. He worked day and night, focusing on his studies and research. His dedication led him to join ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, where he played a key role in India's first satellite launch. Later, he became the chief scientist behind India's missile programs, earning the title of Missile Man of India. But his journey didn't stop there. His contributions to science and education were so great that he was chosen as the 11th President of India. The boy who once sold newspapers had now become the leader of the nation. Even as president, he remained humble, always inspiring students and encouraging young minds to dream big. In the small town of Rameswaram, Tamil Nadu, a young boy helped his family by selling newspapers. He belonged to a poor family, but he had big dreams. His name was Abul Pakir Jainuddin Abdul Kalam, later known as Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the missile man of India. Kalam's family didn't have enough money to support his education, but he was determined to study. He woke up at 4 a.m. every day, studied under a streetlight, and worked hard to secure a scholarship. He got admission to an engineering college, but his journey was not easy. He faced financial struggles, and even slept on railway platforms when he didn't have a place to stay. Despite the hardships, Kalam never gave up. He worked day and night, focusing on his studies and research. His dedication led him to join ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, where he played a key role in India's first satellite launch. Later, he became the chief scientist behind India's missile programs, earning the title of Missile Man of India. But his journey didn't stop there. His contributions to science and education were so great that he was chosen as the 11th President of India. The boy who once sold newspapers had now become the leader of the nation. Even as president, he remained humble, always inspiring students and encouraging young minds to dream big. And no matter how tough your situation is, if you have passion, dedication, and a hunger to learn, you can achieve greatness. Dr. Kalam proved that your background doesn't define your future, your hard work does. If a newspaper boy can become the president of a country, imagine what you can achieve with the right mindset. At the age of 65, most people retire and spend their days in peace. But for Colonel Harlan Sanders, this was not an option. He had spent most of his life struggling, working as a farmhand, a streetcar conductor, a soldier, and even a failed businessman. But one thing he loved was cooking. With his secret fried chicken recipe, he believed he could build something great. So, he packed his pressure cooker and some ingredients and started traveling from restaurant to restaurant, offering his chicken recipe in exchange for a small percentage of sales. But every time he knocked on a door, he faced rejection. Not once. Not 10 times. Not even 100 times. He was rejected 1,009 times. Most people would have given up. They would have accepted defeat and blamed fate. But Colonel Sanders was different. He refused to let failure stop him. Finally, on his 1,010th attempt, a small restaurant agreed to use his recipe. That one, yes, changed everything. People loved his chicken, and soon, his brand started growing. That small effort turned into a global empire. Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC, one of the most famous fast food chains in the world today. At an age when most people retire, Colonel Sanders built an empire from nothing. His story is proof that it is never too late to achieve your dreams. Rejection is not the end. It is a test of how badly you want success. If Colonel Sanders had given up after 1,000 rejections, KFC would not exist today. The key to success is persistence. If you believe in your dream, keep pushing, keep knocking on doors, and never give up. There was a time when Chris Gardner had nothing, no money, no home, and no support. He and his young son had to sleep in public restrooms, subway stations, and shelters. Every day was a struggle just to survive. But deep inside, he had a dream, to become a successful stockbroker. Chris worked as a medical equipment salesman, but his income was barely enough to survive. One day, he saw a well-dressed man stepping out of a luxury car. Curious, he asked, "What do you do for a living?" The man replied, "I'm a stockbroker." That moment changed everything. Chris decided to enter the world of stock trading, but there was a problem. He had no degree, no experience, and no contacts. Despite this, he applied for an internship at a prestigious brokerage firm. The internship was unpaid, and he had to compete with dozens of other candidates. But Chris was determined. While working long hours, he also took care of his young son. Some nights, they had nowhere to sleep, so they stayed in train station bathrooms. But Chris never lost hope. He studied harder, worked tirelessly, and gave everything he had. Finally, his hard work paid off. He passed his training, got a full-time job as a stockbroker, and within a few years, started his own company. That homeless man, who once had nothing, became a multimillionaire entrepreneur and an inspiration to millions. His story was later made into the Hollywood movie, The Pursuit of Happiness, starring Will Smith. And no matter how tough life gets, never stop believing in yourself. Chris Gardner proved that success is not about resources, it's about determination, hard work, and never giving up. If you keep pushing forward, even when everything seems against you, one day, your struggles will turn into your greatest success. In a small village of Gujarat, Dhirubhai Ambani was born into a modest family. His father was a schoolteacher, and money was always tight. From a young age, Dhirubhai knew that if he wanted a better life, he would have to build it himself. As a teenager, he moved to Yemen in search of work. There, he worked as a clerk, earning a small salary. But deep inside, he dreamed of building his own business empire. Instead of spending his salary on luxuries, he saved every penny and learned about trade and business. After a few years, he returned to India and started a small textile trading company in a tiny office. With limited resources but unlimited ambition, he worked day and night. People doubted him, banks refused to give him loans, and competitors tried to bring him down. But he never gave up. Slowly, his company Reliance Industries started growing. He introduced a revolutionary idea, allowing ordinary Indians to invest in his company. This move changed the Indian stock market forever. From a small trading business, he built one of the biggest business empires in the world. Today, Reliance Industries is worth billions, and his legacy continues through his sons. The man who once had nothing became one of India's richest and most powerful businessmen. Success is not about where you start, it's about how determined you are to keep going. Dhirubhai Ambani proved that with vision, patience, and relentless effort, even the poorest person can create an empire. As a child, Albert Einstein was different. He didn't speak until he was 4 years old, and his teachers thought he was slow and unintelligent. He struggled in school, and many believed he would never succeed. But Einstein was not slow. He was simply thinking differently. While other students memorized lessons, he questioned everything. He wanted to understand how the universe worked. Despite being rejected from a prestigious university and facing financial struggles, Einstein never lost his love for learning. He worked as a clerk in a patent office, and in his free time, he worked on complex physics problems. His dedication paid off when he published a paper that introduced the world to the theory of relativity, which changed science forever. Later, he won the Nobel Prize and became one of the greatest minds in history. The boy who was once labeled as slow became a genius who changed the world. Never let others define your potential. Believe in yourself, think differently, and never stop learning, because your uniqueness can change the world. Born to a young mother who couldn't afford to raise him, Steve Jobs was put up for adoption. As he grew older, he showed interest in electronics, but struggled in school. He dropped out of college because his parents couldn't afford the fees. But he didn't let this stop him. He started attending calligraphy and design classes, which later helped him create beautiful products. He and his friend Steve Wozniak started a small company in a garage, Apple. At first, they had no money, no office, and no big investors. But Jobs was relentless. He worked tirelessly, designing computers that were easy to use. Apple grew into a huge success. But just when he thought he had made it, his own company fired him. Most people would have given up. But Jobs didn't. He built another company, Pixar, which created blockbuster animated movies. Later, Apple invited him back, and under his leadership, Apple introduced the iPhone, iPad, and MacBook, revolutionizing technology forever. Failure is not the end, it's just a new beginning. No matter how many times life knocks you down, get back up and keep creating. Born in a poor family, Abraham Lincoln had no formal education. He taught himself by reading books borrowed from neighbors. His life was full of failures. His business failed. He lost multiple elections. His fiancée died. He suffered from depression. Yet, he never lost hope. Instead of giving up, he kept improving himself. After years of struggle, he finally became the 16th President of the United States and led the country through one of its toughest times, the Civil War. His leadership helped abolish slavery, changing history forever. Failure doesn't mean you are not good enough. Keep fighting, keep learning, and one day, you will succeed. Before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon, J.K. Rowling was a struggling single mother living in poverty. She wrote the first Harry Potter book while raising her child alone, often skipping meals to survive. When she sent her manuscript to publishers, she faced 12 rejections. Some publishers even told her that her book would never sell. But she didn't stop. On the 13th attempt, a small publisher finally agreed to print her book. The book became a massive success, turning Rowling into the world's first billionaire author. The woman who once struggled to buy food is now one of the richest and most beloved authors in history. Rejection is not failure. It's just proof that success takes time. If you have a dream, don't stop until you achieve it. These 5 incredible stories prove one thing. No matter how hard life gets, if you refuse to give up, success will find you. Life is never easy for those who dream big. Every great person we admire today, whether it's Dhirubhai Ambani, Albert Einstein, Steve Jobs, Abraham Lincoln, or J.K. Rowling, faced failure, rejection, and hardships before reaching success. Their journeys were filled with struggles, moments of doubt, and challenges that seemed impossible to overcome. But they all had one thing in common: they never gave up. If you look at your own life, you might see struggles too. Maybe you face failure in school, in business, or in personal relationships. Maybe people have told you that you are not good enough or that your dreams are impossible. But let these stories remind you that failure is not the end. It's just a stepping stone to success. The truth is, success doesn't come overnight. It requires patience, resilience, and the courage to keep moving forward even when everything seems against you. If Edison had stopped after his 100th failure, the world would still be in darkness. If Colonel Sanders had quit after his 1009th rejection, KFC wouldn't exist today. If Steve Jobs had given up after being fired, we wouldn't have iPhones in our hands. So ask yourself, are you ready to fight for your dreams? Are you willing to face failure, rejection, and setbacks, knowing that each one brings you closer to success? Because the journey will be tough. You will fall. You will face obstacles. But if you stand up every time you fall, one day, the world will look at you as a success story. Remember, greatness is not reserved for a special few. It is available to anyone who refuses to give up. The road may be long, but if you take the first step and keep going, one day, you will reach your destination.